Okay. All right. Today I'm just going to kind of cover a few things. I want to go over a little bit about the blueprints and then cover a couple things that we've seen happening that just wanted to refresh your memory on a few things what you need to be doing. So I'm going to take this screen off now and change over to my Canvas screen. So the link is in the chat. You might have to scroll up a little bit to find it. I'll put it in one more time. Just go to this link and put your email address and your name in there for attendance. All right, let me change my screen. Hang on one second. I gotta find what I want. Where'd it go? Let me try this again. Hang on, sorry about that. Okay. First, I want to talk about the blueprints a little bit. I know I've sent out a couple emails, and the majority of you won't need to worry about this too much, but some of our full-time instructors and our the ones that are responsible for building the courses and stuff is who we're going to be. Hang on, I'm going to mute a couple people here. I do have everybody muted, just to keep the noise down. If you have a question, though, please feel free to open it up. And I will try to keep an eye on the chat as well. Okay. All right, so the blueprints basically are the masters for all the courses. In the past, when we had LoudCloud, we were able to keep one master and work on that master from term to term to term. The dates in LoudCloud were set up a little differently so that you could set it to be week 1, day 7, week 2, day 3, and so on. Canvas doesn't have that ability, so we have to go into the master and set the exact dates, which is nice when it makes the classes, but it makes it difficult when we move on to the next term. Because, and that's a little bit of what happened when we loaded the mid and something that we learned the hard way. We went in and we changed the dates in the master. When we made the midterm sections, it changed all the sections. So that's why we're moving to an idea of having a master blueprint course for every term. Hopefully what will happen is we'll make the master for the 16-week, the 8-week, the first 8, mid 8, and last 8. And each time those are made, the dates will be set in those masters. And then when the courses are created, those dates should come over. I can't stress enough, though, to everybody that you need to go in and check those dates when your courses are created. We don't have lead faculty on every master, so sometimes those get overlooked. Our department, we try to cover those and get those dates in before those classes go out, but I just want to make sure that everybody is checking those dates in your courses. The students get frustrated when they go in and there's no due date set and they don't know when their assignments are supposed to be due. So I just want to make sure that I know that's not a lot of information, and if you have any questions about it, let me know, but that's what the blueprints are. They're our master courses, and we'll have a master each semester or each term. The rest of what I want to do today is just kind of go over a few things that we've seen come through the tech desk and come to us in emails that I just want to kind of review. So this probably won't be real long, but I want to do that. Okay, first of all is, since we're talking about due dates, is how do we set the due dates? And I'm going to go into my training course here. And there's a couple ways you can do it. The quickest way, I guess, would be if you go to assignments, and on each assignment, if you click on these three dots on the right-hand side and go to edit, you can, excuse me, set the due date right here. So if you have your schedule sitting in front of you, you can pretty quickly go through here and set the due dates. Or if you don't have your schedule in front of you, you can see most of the classes are set up into 8 units generally, or 8 lessons, something like that. You can set each date in each unit. So you would just click on an assignment. Let's see if we can, I don't know if these are all set, but okay, here we go. So we'll go to this discussion question. We'll just click on it, go to edit, and then scroll down here to the bottom. You can set a due date. Generally, it's going to be Sunday at 11:59 p.m. You can set an availability date, and so this is the day that it becomes available for the student. And then you can set an until date. I would, for myself, and this is at your discretion a little bit, but I would probably set this until date to the due date, because if you don't, the student can continue to submit up until this until date. So even if it's graded, if you've graded it and you've set this date out farther, they can continue to submit to it. So that's how you would set the dates.
Sorry, Patty.
Yes.
Real quick, because you're on this screen, where you have the available from, okay?
Uh-huh.
I changed mine because I had students email me saying, hey, if we want to work ahead. So I backdated the available from dates to like the first week. That way they can access it. But the due dates, I didn't change. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what was happening is then some would email me and say, hey, I thought you said that we could work ahead. So I'm not sure why some could do it, why some couldn't do it, and why it seemed to change.
I don't know why it would have changed unless there were no dates in here at all, which could be a possibility. But yeah,
I mean, I went through and I did every single date because I had a couple students that had to have extended periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I went through every single one. I said, well, since I'm doing that, I might as well make it available.
Right.
So
okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
And is that how you do it though? You would do it right there, correct?
Right. While you're talking about specific students too, if you have to change the dates for a specific student, especially like for an accommodation, if you have to give them a couple extra days or whatever. So let me change this back to the 23rd. If you need to give an accommodation or a couple extra days to a specific student, you would have to click this add, and then you can pick the student that you want, and you can change their due date. If you have to give them 2 extra days, you can do that. So that's where you would do this. We've had it come up a few times. I think what has happened is rather than hitting the add and adding a student, people are going up here. Let me see if I can, let me go back a second. they're going here and adding a student and deleting everyone else. And then when they go to their grade book, the only grade they see is this person's, these two people, and they're not seeing anybody else's grades. So if you're gonna, if you have to do an accommodation for somebody, make sure you click this plus add and add them as a second, you know, as a second set of dates.
Hey,
Okay?
Patty,
Yes.
do you know, because I've had to do that, okay? And then when you get out of that, you say so for your example, you have Patty Canvas.
Uh-huh.
You get out of that, all it says up at the top is, all students are due this date. You have one student that's doing, but it doesn't say the student's name.
Correct.
So if you have an accommodation and then someone got the flu and I want to give them 3 days, you know, it does. Do you know why it doesn't specify?
No, I don't. No.
Oh, okay.
I just, yeah.
Hello, Patty.
Yes.
Patty, how you doing? This is Craig Ali. Yeah, I had that same issue the other day where I had granted a student an extension to complete a quiz. The other students had completed it, and I did exactly what you did, and I did take out the everyone. And then when I went back into the grade book, all those students' grades weren't visible
Right.
until that one student took the quiz.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to email you and ask, did I erase the student's grade, or was there a way I can find out where it was? But once he completed it, they all populated again.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, you want to make sure you keep the everyone else in there.
Just
So.
keep everyone else and just add, even if that student was originally included in everyone, you just add that student again.
Right. Right.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit about the dates. Also, the dates also are kind of related to if you need to give somebody another attempt on an assignment, you would do the same thing, give them the assigned to and give them some extra, a different date. That's for assignments and for discussions. For quizzes, if you want to give them another attempt on a quiz, if you click on the quiz itself and then go to moderate this quiz, that will bring you here, which shows how many attempts they have left. And then if you want to add an attempt, you would click on edit. And, you know, if you want to give them an extra attempt, that would go there. So now she's got 3 attempts. But that would be more like, you know, they've used up 2 attempts. You want to give them another one, then you would use that edit to add that attempt for a quiz. Okay. Okay. Something that came from the tech desk today, I asked them for some input on what I maybe needed to go over. And one of the things they said was to make sure you're replying to your students, to their emails and their conversations. So make sure you're checking your inbox regularly. Of course, some of them, you know, are very impatient. They expect a response within an hour, which, you know, we understand that. But just make sure you go to the inbox and check and make sure, you know, see what you've got coming in from time to time and respond to them.
Hey, Patty, and
Yes.
as I mentioned, there is some sort of glitch that the email will show up in the app, but it doesn't show up there. Or it shows up there, and then I go to the app, and it's not at the app. So I have missed some emails because I went this way, then I happened to look down at my app and saw the envelope with the number. I'm like, oh, I got an email there, and went there and got it.
Well, that's odd. I don't know if we've had too much of that or not. I'm not sure about that. What about, you use an iPad most of the time, right? So that's why you're using the app?
Patty, I've actually had the same thing happen. I can look at my phone. I can check my emails, but when I go actually into the system on my computer at home, I have that same issue. There'll be times where an email doesn't show in both places. It'll show in the email, but not in the app within the system.
Okay, so it's going both ways. Sometimes you'll see it in
Right.
the
right.
inbox and not on your app, or vice versa.
Yeah, and you could even search for it, and you can't find it.
Okay, I'll put a ticket in with Canvas and see what that's about. If someone could maybe send me a reminder and an email so that I remember. I'm making myself a note, but.
All right, I'll email you, Patty, tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and I see a couple other ones. One thing about that, though, to keep in mind, and I don't know if this is the problem, and it may not be, if I can get there, in your settings, nope, not your settings, your notifications. Okay. Keep in mind that you've got different ways. So it says notify me right away. That says right away, but it might not be immediate. It might be like, within the hour. And then you also have the daily summary and the weekly summary. So, check and make sure you've got your settings set up here. I know that you probably do. I think a couple of you have mentioned it to me before, but just make sure, you've got those set correctly so that you're getting them pretty regularly when you want them. Okay.
And I saw that, I would think that was the guy with a rage problem.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Rebecca said, yeah, if you've got it going to your email, it'll go to your email as well. So, okay, submission type. We occasionally get messages from students that they'll go into an assignment and there's no way to submit it. There's no submission button. And what we found is that sometimes what's happening is this. Let me find one. Okay. In the assignment, and so you can, put this in the back of your mind if you get a student saying, I don't have a submit button. If you go to the assignment and go to edit, we're finding that this submission type is set to no submission. So that means it doesn't require a submission. Well, it probably does. So you need to go in here and change this to online. And you can choose what you want. Generally, we set them up with file uploads. You can also do text entry if you like. But generally, if you want them to upload a Word document or something, you would just need the file uploads. So if that comes up for you with a student, you may want to check there for a submission, make sure that's set. And then the only other time that we usually see that happen is if it's outside the due dates. So, okay. Another question I had come up recently was about the running total on the grades, about switching it from percentages to points. And that's way over here. The total column, this can either be total points or it can be percentage. And the way you would change that is just click on the dots and go to display as percentage. Then if you want it back, you just go display as points. This will not work on a class though that has weighted totals. So, but most classes do not. There's just a couple that have weighted totals. So that's how you would change that. Oh, Allison just asked about putting zeros in manually. Actually, I can show you a little shortcut on that. If you're setting your due dates, and you go to this gear over here on the right-hand side, it gives you the option to automatically apply a grade for missing submissions. So if you check mark that, and I guess it's, okay, since I already had that, it won't update it. And hit update, it'll put the zeros in there for you once your due dates have passed. Okay.
Hey, Patty,
Yes.
what were you saying to me when I emailed you about the grades? Remember me saying I put grades in there and then I'll go back in and then sometimes the grades are missing, and you said, well, if you've, I didn't understand what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. One thing that I've found that in the last couple weeks is, let's see. Okay, so these two students right here, or these two assignments right here, you can see that there's a submission. However, if I click on it, now I have a grade there. What has happened, and this might be the same with what you're talking about, Mark, is if you've graded it and the student has made another submission, that's what that means. So, okay, I've already graded it, but the student made a submission after I graded it. So that's why that paper is there. So if you click on this and go to the speed grader, you would see what the submission was. So this might be, probably what I did was I put in a 10 even though there was no submission. And then I did submit something, so now it wants me to grade it again. And use this same grade for the resubmission is what you would use to just leave this the same, or you could change this grade to whatever you want it to be.
Well, just a quick question on that, because you can manually, put your cursor in there and you could type over the 15 and make it a 20.
Right.
If you have a Rubik's already in, which I do, you can click on the point total for the Rubik's.
Mm-hmm.
Use the little slide bar to slide the score all the way up to whatever score you want to give them.
Okay.
Does it matter which way you do it? Like if I don't use the Rubik's and I just use the slider, will that keep it? Or do I have to, since I've used the Rubik's, I have to put the points in the Rubik's?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I haven't.
So I've been doing like, I've been doing the belt and I've been doing both.
Uh-huh.
Just because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it would be something we just have to look at. I'll make a note.
Patty, what I found out is I use a rubric for grading, and when I go in and click whatever grade they have, it'll show up in the rubric as a score, but unless you go save it and enter it in, the grade doesn't show in the grade book.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's happened to me. It happens to me all the time. Unless you have to go and click, you have to tally up the score, which shows in the speed grader. But unless you go and out of the screen and enter the grade of what they had on the rubric, that's the only way it's going to show in a grade book.
Okay. I don't think I have any rubrics in this class, but I did find too that.
So what was he saying, Patty? I kind of missed it.
Sounds like he'd go out and then back in.
Yeah, when you go for speed grader, use your rubric and it tallies up that score. It'll show in the rubric, but unless you go back out and where the score is, you have to enter it manually what their actual score was. It doesn't automatically populate the speed grader score into the grade book.
Okay.
But here's what I noticed: if I use my iPad and I do it, and I just swipe across, and then like I want to take a break and I hit done, it will do it.
Okay. I had found also that in some of the rubrics, they weren't set up to be used for grading, so it wasn't saving the grade properly. So like
Yeah,
here, I have to go to the pencil and use rubric for assignment grading
mhm.
and update it. And then it should, if you click on the grades, you know, in the grading area, it should total it and put it in the total for you.
Yeah, and like I mentioned to you, I've had several students then email me and say, "Hey, what happened to the rubrics? It disappeared." I've had that happen too. So I don't know what that's all about either.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when you have problems like that, make sure you give me as much detail as you can, like exactly what assignment it is, what student it is, and that kind of stuff, so I can kind of troubleshoot a little bit better.
Patty, when I get home, I'll email you over the weekend,
Okay.
and maybe I can get you a screenshot
Okay.
of what it is when you do the speed grade with the rubrics.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Patty, excuse me, before you move on, before under the old system, we used to be able to hit save, right? Then we could go through and then hit submit. Because like say if there's a discussion question, I grade it, but they haven't done both of their responses to posts. So I do want to put a grade in there. That way I don't have to redo it again, but I don't want it to post it. How do you save and not submit? Because if I don't hit submit, I lose it.
I don't think you can.
Okay, all right.
I think you only can submit.
Okay. Because I know on the desktop version, there is a save button, but not on the desktop version, there isn't a save button.
I don't know. I don't see one here. If you're,
at least I don't think it was.
Yeah, because I'm on the desktop. I only have the submit button.
Okay, so there's no way to do that. Okay.
All right. All right. Let's see. All right. I see there's quite a few questions here. I'm not sure I'm going to get to all of them. There are some questions here about quizzes and answers coming over incorrectly and that kind of thing. You know, some of the courses we moved over manually. Some we used the cartridges and brought them over. When we're moving 400 courses, there's going to be some mistakes made, unfortunately. We're doing our best to get those questions all fixed for you as you let us know about them in the masters. They might not get fixed in your sections at this point, but we are trying to get them fixed in the masters. So, you know, if you see a question that's wrong, you may have to go in and give the student the point for the, you know, what was actually correct. So we are doing our best to get all that fixed up, and hopefully next term they'll be in better shape. All right, let me see. Oops. Okay. Somebody's asking for the sign-in sheet. I will give you, here's the link again for the attendance. And as I said, there's a lot of questions coming in. I'm having a hard time keeping up with them. So please don't worry about emailing me questions if you have them. Okay, let's see what else I have on here. Okay, this past week, or I think it was this week or maybe late last week, I sent out a link to everyone for the studio training. That's the video part that we can use in Canvas. Everybody should have got a link from Bridge, and it was named Welcome Learning Awaits, and it takes you to a studio a course, a Canvas course to show you how to use Studio. On the 21st, we're going to have about a training session with someone from Studio to answer any questions you might have. So watch for that coming out, the link for that. Let's see, I'm looking at some questions again. Do I have to set up my notifications to be notified of their comment, or is there a way to be notified that they have commented? Let me check into that, Nancy.
Hey, Patty, that I get that as an alert. Like
As an
it'll-
alert. Okay, that's what I was thinking. It would come as an alert,
Yeah,
which
it'll
would
say,
show
hey,
up
you
on
got a
the.
new, yeah, you got a new comment from so-and-so, so-and-so.
So that would show up over here on the right somewhere, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And it also, because I have mine set up, it gets emailed to me.
All right, as part of your notifications or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's about all I had that I wanted to go over with you. Let me see if there's any other questions that I can get to. Okay, if I missed one, I'm sorry. Could you post the attendance link again? Yep. There's the attendance link.
Actually, I clicked on the attendance link and it told me that I needed permission.
You have to use your EGCC email.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that then.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I don't, if you like, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. We have been crazy busy in our department, but we're doing our best to keep up with all your questions and get you taken care of. So next week, I think I'm going to go over Big Blue Button a little bit, the conference part, and I'll watch for any other questions that maybe come in that we need to review again. So if nothing else, everybody have a great weekend. And I will be sending out the action items with the recording here shortly. So take care.